We're going to bring in our folks from Rebecca McCarter, if I get that pronounced right. She's with the Michigan Manufacturing Technology Center. It's out in Plymouth. I've been in there many times. And what they do is just like it sounds. They work with the manufacturing community to make them more technologically sophisticated, savvy, and all the rest. Would that be a good quick summation, Rebecca?
Yeah, we help with operational and strategic improvements. So that works well.
Okay. So one of the things that happened last Friday was you announced Connex Michigan, which is a program that's in multiple states. I think Michigan is one of 6 states now that are plugged into this network, essentially. And with it, you will help auto companies, auto suppliers, manufacturers, that sort of thing, literally connect. Is that right?
That is correct. It's actually been around for a number of years. It was sponsored originally by the National Association for Manufacturers. So there is something called the National Marketplace. What Connex Michigan is our state's access to that national system. And of course, as part of the Manufacturing Extension Partnership, what the center can do is we're bringing all of that knowledge that we've had for working with manufacturers in Michigan for the last 30 years, and we're putting that into the marketplace for Michigan. So the Michigan component is much more robust than some of the other states that don't have an MEP partner. So that's kind of the value that we're bringing not only to Michigan, but also then linking Michigan to that national marketplace.
Right. So talk a little bit about what this does for Michigan manufacturers. I know in my time as a business writer, I have, through various events and whatnot, and Mike's done a lot of events too, where he has brought people together. Frequently, people don't know that they could get suppliers around the corner instead of around the world.
That's correct. And so Michigan is kind of on the forefront, right? Because we've had Pure Michigan Business Connect, and they've been doing these supplier summits for a number of years. But there's a lot of time and energy that goes into getting Ford and Meyer and DTE and some of our large OEMs to put their needs together and produce one of these events. And with COVID, there's been a lot more challenges in getting people together in a room. Sure. And so we were exploring different opportunities. And so when we heard about this potential to link Michigan with this Connex platform, we thought this is awesome because it takes all of that knowledge base, right, that we've collected over the years working alongside of Pure Michigan Business Connect, and allows companies, it puts it right in their hands, right? So a company can come in, access their account, request user access. We, as the MEP, will validate that they're a legitimate Michigan manufacturer, right? We're trying to prevent service providers and other people from trying to market to our companies, and really limit it to manufacturing companies that want to communicate with other manufacturing companies. So it's kind of taking the power of those summits and putting it right at the fingertips of the purchasing, the supply chain managers, the presidents of the companies right here in Michigan.
So how do manufacturers get connected to Connex?
Well, we do have a Connex page on our website. So there's a link to request an account. Just fill out a little bit of information, company name, what your address is, an email address. That email comes to me, I'll do the validation and link them to the data that we have in the system. And then it will issue them login credentials. And at that point, the company administrator can come in, update their information, add additional users within their company. So a CEO could then add their purchasing department, or they could make the purchasing department the administrator, and they could add their C staff, right? It goes either way. And then the value of the platform really is where the manufacturer comes in and adds all of their capabilities, right? So we know we have machine shops, but we've got machine shops that can do micro precision, and we've got machine shops who can do, 12-foot, products, right, that go on the end of airplanes. And so we want the companies to come in and say, here's what our capabilities are, here's the materials that we work with, here's the part sizes that we are our sweet spot, right? because that's how manufacturers are going to look for you. They're going to want to know not only do you machine metal, but what types of metal do you machine? And so that's kind of the push for us, is getting companies to join the process and fill out that capability statement, really, the below the member only line, right? So that only manufacturers can see what information they're putting in. There's also a third level that is limited to the company itself, and that's an extra step, right? So a company at the administrative level can add their suppliers and their current customers into the system. And then there's a process that the system goes through to identify potential supply chain risks. And that's, again, very confidential. Only the company itself can see that level of information. And it will look for single source suppliers. It will look for companies with a credit rating risk. It will look for companies who might be out on some federal government website as being a potential blacklist company. And it will allow the user then to evaluate whether that risk is significant for their company or not. And then if it is, they can click the button that says find alternates. And then based on the detail that they've provided, it will go out and find other companies within Michigan that meet the profile of those current suppliers. And they can choose from that list, a short list of potential replacements.
Yeah, to me, that was the most interesting thing that I saw in the flyer that you distributed to us before this program, was that signing up for this thing and putting in your supply chain really gives you a free supply chain analysis with some very sophisticated supply chain analysis tools. People can filter their supply chain and view it different ways. I mean, that used to cost you a lot of money, or it could at least. And now, you've got this system set up where people can really analyze their supply chain in significant detail.
Yeah, and that's one of the selling points for us, is what are we giving our companies, beyond a business listing site? And that's really, there's a public level that is kind of like a business listing site. You can put a little bit of information or no information. That mid-level company only, member only data is where you can really put, the person you want to handle those sales conversations, right? Business opportunities. And then that company secure site really adds some functionality. So some of our larger companies may have their own capability, but this would allow a smaller company who maybe isn't as technologically savvy, right? Rather than having to invest in a system that will do it, this platform will allow you to do that, for as long as you want to utilize it in that way.
Now, is there a cost associated with this? I know the MITechNews.com and some other state entities are part of this. Do they pay the cost? Does the user pay the cost? Who pays the cost?
Yeah, for right now, we the Michigan Manufacturing Technology Center and Pure Michigan Business Connect through the MITC are covering the cost for Michigan companies. And our plan is to continue to cover that cost forever, right? So Michigan companies can access the Michigan platform and communicate with other Michigan companies. What we've also have right now for the first 90 days, so between now and April 30th, if a Michigan company signs up, they also have access to that national marketplace at no cost. Now there isn't, for the national marketplace, there's an annual subscription cost of $500. But any company coming in now, between now and April 30th, will get registered with a promotional code that will allow them to access the national marketplace at no cost for the lifetime of the company. So that's a huge product value right now.
Yeah.
That has an expiration date, but only to the national platform. So Michigan will continue to be free for Michigan companies.
Well, that's a great value.
All right, if you could give us a little bit of background on the center, on the MMTC, like what's its history, how was it set up, and what are the other services it provides? People might not have heard of it.
Sure. So it was a legislation back in 1991, may have been in the 80s, but we were established in 1991. So it's called the Hollings Manufacturing Extension Partnership. Money comes out of the Department of Commerce, and it was established basically to help subsidize, right, services for manufacturers. So the quality mandates were just coming out in the late 80s, early 90s. So ISO 9001 and some of these certifications that were going to be requirements for people to service aerospace and defense and the automotive industry. And the thought was that a small company cannot get that kind of consulting and support without subsidized funding. So we get funded by the federal government, we get matching funds from the state, and we're here to serve the 1 to 500 employee company. That's the ideal company. And we'll help with everything from a plant layout, operational assessment, lean implementation, quality implementation. We can do strategic planning, project management. I mean, pretty much anything a company needs. And right now we have an Industry 4.0 team that's been out, and they do roadshows and other things around the state. And they kind of help companies understand what is this Industry 4.0, new technology, big data, digital twins, what does all of this mean? And how does a small manufacturer do that at scale, right, at cost? Because they don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars to invest. And we have the capability, we've got some tools here that really show a company that it doesn't take hundreds of thousands of dollars. You can start with just a couple $100s and a few sensors in the right place, and that can really help you with your operational improvements, especially now with the workforce challenges. You can do more with less, and we walk you through how to do that. So there's lots of products and services that we offer, and in support of manufacturing, just to help train workers, all sorts of things.
How many manufacturers do you work with now, roughly? I mean, what kind of ballpark figure can you give me?
Yeah, I mean, we touch probably about 500 to 700 manufacturers a year in various ways. We probably do the in-depth consulting and operational improvements with about 200 to 300 per year.
Okay, and you have a location there in Ann Arbor where you do various programs and events. Talk about some of those if you could.
Yeah, so we actually have we have 5 locations around the state. Our headquarters is here in Plymouth, and we have an advanced training classrooms here that we can do. We actually have an Industry 4.0 room where we have 3D printers and all sorts of light guide systems active and other things that we can do to showcase that Industry 4.0 stuff. But we also have locations at Saginaw Valley State University, the Right Place out of Grand Rapids. There's an office in Traverse City and one in the UP. So we do have several offices so that we can offer these services everywhere. Wherever you're located, we've got someone close to you that can come out and do one-on-one support. So we do what we can to cover the entire state for manufacturers.
And I believe you also do educational stuff, right? You have classes and things like that?
We do. We have supervisory skills training. We do internal audit training. I think we're working on a lead auditor program. We have Six Sigma tools. There's also like problem solving and those types of things. Again, we offer a project management course that leads to certification. We also have some CEU credits for a lot of the classes as well. So you can check that out on the website. With some of the training classes, the certifications that come along with the course materials.
Where do you see manufacturing, particularly small manufacturing in Michigan, going in the years ahead? There seems to be much greater interest in, having a supply chain that is less dependent on, shipping things long distance halfway around the world. I mean, where do you think that's going, and how will that affect Michigan manufacturing?
Yeah, I think, well, there's a lot of things going on right now that will affect Michigan manufacturers. That shift from internal combustion engines to electric vehicles is going to change a lot, because we've got companies that, that market opportunity is going to go away at some point. There's a lot fewer components that go into an EV than a traditional automotive vehicle. So what we're hoping that Connex will do is kind of help those companies transition from thinking of themselves as an automotive component manufacturer and think of themselves as precision machining or plastic molding or whatever the component might be. So we think that's going to change. I think just hearing about some of the infrastructure that is going on with our electric and where that's going to come from, there's going to be some unique opportunities, I think, there in that two-way communication between electricity and other things. I think there's been a big push recently with the space launch here in Michigan, and there's a lot of interest in vertical takeoff and landing and different propulsion systems, drones, all satellites, all sorts of things are we're hearing about on the horizon. We're having a number of as part of the national MEP system, we get supplier scouting requests from other MEP centers. We're getting a lot of requests right now from people who are looking to reshore certain components that they're having a harder time. They're indicating that their current supplier is like 6 to 12 months out and they're looking for alternatives. So I think that there's going to be, at least in the next probably short term, 2 to 3 years, a big push to get some of those products reshored. And some of that will be, maybe lower, more commodity type items, but the volumes might be there to make that worthwhile.
All right. Well, we're coming down towards the end here. So why don't you give that contact information again for manufacturers that want to connect?
Okay, yeah. So let me see, where is it here? Make sure I get it absolutely right. If you go to our website, which is the-center.org/Connex, CONNEX, that is the landing page. It gives you a little more detail about the program, and the request for access link is right in the middle of the page at the bottom. So